All right. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Purse Strings Lunch and Learn. All of March, we are talking about investing and different type of investments. And today we are talking about investing in your 401k. And for those who are new, Purse Strings is all about providing tips, tricks, pieces of advice to help women be financially fearless. And then when you are ready to go put things in transition or transaction, plan for retirement, maybe you're doing something with your 401k, getting divorced, getting married, needing an estate plan, we have top tier financial professionals willing, ready, and able to serve you. We call those our Purse Strings approved professionals, and Kelly Guncheon is one of them. So we're so happy to have him on today to talk about investing in your 401k. But before we dive into all that fun, Kelly, could you give us a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure thing, Maggie. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for Purse Strings. I've really enjoyed the time that I've been with as a member as well as a participant with Purse Strings, and what you're doing is pretty amazing and so necessary. So I really appreciate you and Barb and Purse Strings and the Purse Strings membership. So thanks for inviting me. I'm Kelly Guncheon. I own a small registered investment advisory firm in Plymouth, Minnesota, which is just on the outskirts of Minneapolis. I'm independent, fee only investment advisory firm. I deal with individuals and 401k retirement plans. I specialize in a couple of things. One is dealing with socially responsible investments, and the other is with women, both divorcees as well as widows, and women in general. It's something that's come to me from my family upbringing and my professional career, where all the best bosses I've had were women, and I have 3 daughters, and my wife is my best friend. So it just comes natural to me to work with women, and I see where it's so needed in my industry. To treat women with respect that they deserve, and with the care that they should be given. So again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you on. We're excited to have you here. Lucky you, having 3 daughters. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, today we're talking all about investing in your 401k. And so if anyone's watching live and has questions along the way, feel free to pop them in the chat. But we're just going to start with some questions that we have, off the bat. And first of that's, right when you start new employment and you're starting that 401k, I know there's a couple different kinds of plans and things that make you eligible. So can we first talk about some of those details?
Sure. It's important when you first start to find out what kind of retirement plan your company or organization has, because there are a multitude of retirement plans, and it depends upon the size of the company, the type of company or organization it is, what the attitude of the owner is toward employees in terms of establishing something that will help them in retirement after they've moved on from the company, that type of thing. So the 401k plan is typically the most common that you'll find. In the nonprofit world, you'll have 403b plans, which are much like 401ks anymore. There are simple plans. Simple plans are for small companies that can't afford the administrative cost of 401k plans. And simple plans essentially are setting up IRAs for each employee. So it's an IRA, which stands for individual retirement account. So it's an individual, and it isn't tied necessarily to the employer, except for 2 things. One is the contribution goes through the payroll service, and secondly, the employer will match or contribute to the person's IRA. But other than that, it is the person's IRA. And there's no administrative structure to it. A 401k plan, on the other hand, is a structure in and of itself. It's something that an employer will pay a record keeper and a custodian to manage for them. And it requires annual tax returns going to the IRS. It requires a great deal of record keeping and administrative work that will be handled either by the plan administrator, which is the vendor, the outside vendor. It could be handled by the payroll company. It could be handled by the advisor on the plan. So it's important to find out the ins and outs of what retirement plan you have when you join a company. If you have a 401k plan, typically there will be an enrollment booklet that will have a highlights page that will tell you all about what the plan entails, when you become eligible, what are the match how much does the employer, if at all, match of your contributions to the plan, what investments are available, and then it also provides you with details about 401k plans in general, because there are some rules that apply to 401k plans in general. They're universal rules and laws. It's a highly regulated type of structure that the employer, otherwise known as the plan sponsor, need to follow. So once you get a copy of that booklet, you can look it over, find out when you're eligible, and then make sure that you get in contact with HR to ensure that you start contributing to the plan as soon as you're eligible. Some plans have auto enrollment, and that is something that's fairly new to 401k plans. It means that after you become eligible, they will enroll you automatically into the plan, whether you enroll yourself. And if you want to not be participating in the plan, you can opt out. You've got time to do that. Whatever money they put in for you that they deduct from your paycheck, they'll return to you. So it's not like you're forced to participate. What they're doing is trying to force you to make the decision as to whether to participate, because typically people will put off the decision for months, sometimes years. So once you get in there, once you get the information about the plan, you can find out the ins and outs of the particular plan. Typically, there's an advisor on the plan who will help you to enroll. They will help you to choose investments. They'll help you to understand the plan. And I think that's really key as to who the advisor is, because typically that's what makes or breaks the plan. It's really important that people understand what a 401k plan is. And the reason being, and I explain this to employers as well, is that if you offer a benefit, if you being the employer offer a benefit that the employee doesn't understand or value, then what's the point? Why are you doing it? And so it's really important that an effort be made to enroll the employee, to inform them about what they need to know about a 401k plan, and if necessary, talk with them about investments. It's the thing that I enjoy most about my job, quite frankly, is enrolling. I meet with my clients' employees to enroll them. I enjoy that because sometimes I'm meeting with people who have no idea what investing is all about, and I will take the time to explain to them, first of all, what the plan is and how it works, and then secondly, about investments to the extent they want to. I watch for the eyes to glaze over, but sometimes I'll talk about the difference between a stock and a bond, and I just love that part, and I think it's really key for people who participate in a 401k plan. So in essence, if you're joining a company, those are the steps you ought to take. And if you are coming from a company that you already had a 401k plan with, then you ought to make a decision as to what you're going to do with that. And your choices are, you can move that money into the new 401k plan at your new company. You can roll it into an IRA, or you can cash it out. And cashing it out has all kinds of tax implications, but you can do that. Or you can keep it with the other employer 401k plan if it's a really good plan and you don't want to move it. There is a limit, though. If you have less than $5,000 in the 401k plan, that employer can force you out of the 401k plan and into an IRA. So that was a kind of a long story as to what you should do if you're starting with a new company.
Ton of great information. I want to touch on a couple of those different points. First of all, I love that, I remember going when I went into an office that there'd be someone who would come like once a year and talk about your 401k and different things like that. And so it's great to have those conversations and be part of that conversation, making sure you're part of your 401k or, whatever option you have at your office. And you can see that each company, depending on their size, will have kind of a different plan because a lot does go into it. And then, we usually recommend that you jump in the plan if you are eligible, especially at least to get that match, because you don't want to leave any cash on the table, which is probably why they automatically enroll you. But you're right. It's one of those benefits that if everyone's not using, then it's not really a benefit. It's just an expenditure for the company. So you want to make sure your employees are using it and they want you to use it, ask about it, talk about it, use it, different things like that.
Yeah. And it's really, what's great. One of the things that's great about a 401k plan is that it's automatically taken out of your paycheck.
Right.
So the easiest money to save is money you never see. So the money that comes out of your paycheck is money you're not going to see. It's going to go into your 401k plan. And it's going to be remarkable how quickly that builds. You'll get statements on a regular basis. Sometimes you throw them in the garbage, which I would not encourage. I would encourage you to get them electronically. But after a few months, you start looking at this money starting to build, and it's pretty remarkable how quickly you can accumulate some pretty significant money with your 401k plan without really feeling it. So my advice in terms of how much to put aside, how much to contribute to your 401k plan is to do it until it hurts just a little bit. Don't do it so you're starving, obviously. But if you can't feel it at all, then add a little bit more. You want to, because saving is a significant move to ensure that you're financially stable, and if not successful later on in life. So you want to start doing this. It's tough to catch up if you get older and you haven't done it. But I think that put in enough certainly for the match, as you said, Maggie. It's free money. Don't leave it on the table. So at least contribute enough to get the match, and then think about how much more you can do, and then stretch a little bit. Try 8%, 9%, 10%, something like that. And if after a couple of months you want to develop a habit, so habits take a few months to develop. But if after a few months you think it's too much, then dial it back 1%. If it's not enough, then dial it up 1%. And then when you get raises, put a 1 or 2% of the raise into your 401k plan, because that's money you've not seen yet, you've not experienced yet. Yes, you're looking forward to it, but that's the easiest way to increase the accumulation of money in your 401k plan.
It kind of reminds me of like lifting weights. You start with a low weight, and then as you get stronger, you like move up. And then if it's too heavy, you might go back down a little bit. But you want to find that perfect, and then you increase eventually.
Can I use that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all yours now.
Thank you.
And so I know we said there's kind of 3 different options if you left your job.
Yeah.
At least $5,000 there. You can leave it at the old company, or they don't have to kick you out. You can move it to your new company if you wanted to, or you could withdraw it with some tax implications. So
yes. Yeah, well, you can withdraw it in 2 ways. One, you can cash it out, or you can roll it into an IRA.
Okay, so
the IRA is a non-taxable event, so that's not going to cost you any taxes or penalties. It's the cashing out is the only one that's going to cost you money. You'll have to pay taxes plus a 10% penalty if you are younger than 59 and a half.
So if you were to move money from the old company to, let's say, your new company, it's not actually withdrawing all that money, hitting your bank account, and then uploading it to the next account. Right. Because I don't want people to think, that's how it's done, is it goes into your bank and then it goes into this other account, because that would inflict taxes. And then, like you said, this 10% fee, right? Because of you're not 59 and a half.
Well, you got a 60-day window for doing that.
Okay.
So you don't want them to send you a check and then have it, and then you send the check on to your new employer. Sometimes they'll do that. It depends. Every fund administrator is different. Most of them are really good about it, and they do what's called a trustee-to-trustee rollover, which is where it goes from the one plan to another plan, and you never touch it. That's the best way to do it, because you'll never get a 1099-R, which is a tax statement indicating that you took a distribution from your retirement plan. However, if they do send it to you, as sometimes they will, you have 60 days to put it into the new plan, and you'll not incur taxes or a penalty at all. However, you most likely will get a 1099-R, and it's not that difficult to deal with when you do your taxes. You just indicate that it's a rollover.
Okay. And so if you decide, is there a pro or a con of leaving your previous 401k at an old company? I know some people say like it's almost too far out of reach. You want to keep it closer in your universe, or about the business. But you also said that, if it's a good investment and they're managing it right, it's not bad. What are kind of your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, it depends on how good that plan is. And by good, I mean, what are its fees? So at the end of every year, you're supposed to get a disclosure from the plan indicating what the fees are for the plan. And that disclosure will tell you who it is that's paying for the plan. Is it the employer? Is it the employees? In some cases, the employees are paying all the administrative costs and they don't even know it. So that statement that you get at the end of the year is a disclosure that is required to show you who is paying for the plan and what you as an employee are paying. So it's first of all important to look at that to see whether you're paying any of the administrative expenses, because that's a fee that's going on to your account. The second is what are the funds available in the plan? That's one of the limitations of a 401k plan, is that we select a stable of funds to choose from, and typically it's anywhere from 15 to 30 funds that are available. The more that are in there, the more paralyzed people come in terms of choices. But in some cases, I mean, it has, the target date funds, which are funds that were established for retirement plans. The target date are funds that you can, one of the set it and forget it type of funds, where you can today put in money into a target date. Say you're anticipating retiring in 2050. You put money into a 2050 target date fund, and every year it will be suitable for someone who's going to be retiring in 2050. So it gradually gets more conservative every year. You don't really see it, but it does. And it will be suitable every year until you retire in 2050. That's the way it is supposed to work. So that's available in the 401k plans. And sometimes they also have managed portfolios. And these are portfolios managed by the financial advisor or the fiduciary, and they are based upon risk level. They're not based upon anticipated retirement age. So there'll be they'll usually 5 or 6 models, and they'll be based upon what your risk tolerance is. So anything from aggressive to income for people who are just about to retire, and everything in between. So you can choose that portfolio, and sometimes they do very well. And the difference between that and the target date is that those that are based upon risk never get more conservative. So if you invest in an aggressive portfolio, it will be aggressive for as long as you have that money in there. So if you forget about it, and in 2050 you retire and you've had it in aggressive all along, you might be surprised. But so those are some of the reasons to stay in the 401k plan, is that the selection of investments are good. The fees are reasonable if there are any fees at all. The investments, in addition to the quality of the investments, the expense of the investments is also another consideration. That is, every mutual fund has what's called an investment expense ratio. That's what the mutual fund charges you annually to be in its mutual fund, and it's a fee that pays for the analyst who manages the fund, pays for all the trade, the marketing materials, the administration of it. And it typically, it can run anything from 0.06% to 2.5%.
Wow.
So it's really important to look at the stable of investments that are in the 401k plan to see, are they expensive? Are they cheap? Sometimes the 401k plan platform will derive its income or its fees through that expense ratio. So it's something to really examine if you're going to be considering leaving your money in the former 401k plan. What is it? What's the quality of the funds in there, and how expensive are they? Right. Now, then you look at, conversely, you look at your your new employer and see what that plan is. See what the array of mutual funds available are. How expensive are they? How good are they in terms of performance? And then you can and then again, look at who pays for the fees in the plan. And then you can make a determination as to whether it's good to leave it in your former plan, put it into the new plan, or just roll into an IRA. If you roll into an IRA, you have usually you have the full universe of mutual funds. So there are more than 10,000 mutual funds out there. And you can select from any of those rather than being restricted to whatever it is the plan selects. And also, if you're doing it yourself, you're not going to have the administrative fees. If you're working with a financial advisor, you know what their fees are, plus you're getting advice on how to invest the money. So there are pluses and minuses to all of the situations, but it's worth digging a little bit to find out the ins and outs of the former 401k, the current 401k, and what you're doing for your regular IRA.
Yeah, those are some great little nuances kind of to look at that, I didn't even know about. And so looking at those different things and kind of comparing, yeah, seems really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
I think
and,
the one other point is that I have run into clients who have 401k plans at several different employers. Is that a good idea? I would suggest not, because it's hard to keep track of those things. And in fact, one of the things I was going to mention is that in the Secure Act 2.0, they are, I believe it's in 2025, going to establish this retirement plan lost and found database for
wow.
people to look up, if they have a 401k plan account somewhere where they used to work, it helps them to find it. So that gives you an idea of the scope of the problem with people leaving their accounts in former employers, is they just lose track. Life gets busy, and sometimes they think they didn't have any money there, or it wasn't theirs, or what have you. So it's another consideration.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I always think that, for the ease of like whoever is to follow or whatever, having all your information in one area seems the easiest. So as you start getting older, if all your 401k information was all in one account, it's much easier to work with. And if you ever died, like everyone sees all your money is there. Because I could see a lot of money just being left at these different companies, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, whatever it is, but it adds up.
Yes, it does.
Um,
And typically employers are glad to get rid of you.
yeah.
I mean, nothing personal, but it's usually an administrative expense for them for you to be in their plan. That they would rather you get the money out of it. So don't be reluctant to ask them for it, because chances are they'll be glad to let you take it.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And so with your 401k money, can you use any of the money while you're still working, or if you're under, 55 and a half without a penalty?
Yeah, in very limited circumstances you can, and there's a reason for that. And the 401k plans and other retirement plans were set up to help you plan and prepare for retirement.
Right.
So they give you tax breaks, as they do with IRAs and 401k plans and 403, all of these tax deferred accounts. They give you tax breaks to encourage you to save for retirement. And the reason being that they don't want you to depend on Social Security,
Right.
first of all, because it's not meant to be a substitute for retirement savings. It replaces pensions. It used to be that people would work all their lives with companies, and so the companies would have pensions for their employees. Well, those went by the wayside as employees started to become more mobile and go from company to company to company. And so the employers were saying, well, first of all, pensions are very expensive to maintain because they require a heck of a lot more than a 401k plan does. And second, actually benefit somebody who's only going to be with us for a couple of years. And yet they had to track that person for the rest of their career so they could pay them out in a pension unless they took a lump sum. So anyway, the short story is that the government intentionally tries to make it as difficult as possible for you to take money out of the plan. But there are ways you can do it. The easiest way is through a loan. Most plans anymore allow you to borrow up to 50% of your account value, up to $50,000 from your account. And you've got 5 years to pay it back. It could be longer if you're using it to buy a house. The advantage is you don't have to apply for it. You just ask for it. The second advantage is the interest. So you're going to pay interest on it. And typically it's market rates. It could be, the Fed rate plus 2% or something. And so you are paying interest on it, but all of that interest goes back into your account. So you're paying yourself interest. So that's an advantage as well, is that one, it's easy to get, and two, the interest you pay on it is typically fairly low, and it goes back into your account. So you're paying yourself the interest. The drawback is, one, you're losing money out of your account, so it's not able to accumulate, it's not able to grow that money that you're taking out. Secondly, you're paying double taxes on the interest you're paying on those you're paying on those payments. And so those are pretty much the two disadvantages of it. The third disadvantage is that if you were to leave the company, unless you can roll that loan into your next employer's plan and they accept it, you have to pay that money back right away. Yeah, so that can be a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
So those are the three disadvantages to taking, but the money, a loan is available. I don't encourage people to use it for anything other than to invest it. And by investment, I mean, buying a car is not an investment. Buying a house is. Buying an education is. But think about it as whether you're using the money to be on something that's be part of your portfolio. When you look at someone's investment portfolio, it includes their house. It includes other things that it doesn't include your house. I mean, your car and other other things that you might buy with it. So don't use it to go on vacation, but you can use it for home repairs or whatever. It's easy to get. So the loan is the first thing. The second thing, the other ways to get it out are deal more with hardships. And by hardships, I mean, again, if you're going to have your house foreclosed upon, if you got significant medical expenses, funeral expenses, educational expenses, you can declare a hardship and essentially take all the money out of your account to pay for it. But you have to prove that you took out enough money to resolve the situation. And one of the changes that the Secure Act also included back when it was passed in December was that it used to be that employers had to determine, you had to have the employer approve your hardship withdrawal. They had to determine that it met the descriptions of hardships that the federal government had.
Would that be like HR, like your HR section?
HR or the owner, whichever, yes. And you had to explain why you needed it, and then they had to agree that it met the intent of the hardship withdrawal rule. As of this year, though, that no longer applies. You are able to ascertain on your own that it's a hardship. Now, again, you're obligated to ensure that it's a hardship, and they can audit you and ask you to prove that, one, that it was a hardship, two, that you only took enough money to resolve the hardship. But you no longer have to go to your employer and ask for permission, essentially. So that's the second way you can do it. The thing with a hardship withdrawal is that they first want you to take a loan, and then you can take out the hardship withdrawal, and then you can't participate in the plan for 6 months. But you have the money available to you, and that's the key. Is that you're very limited in how you can have access to the money. You do, excuse me, you do pay taxes on it. You do pay a 10% penalty for early withdrawal, but it's available to you.
Okay. Interesting. I like that they changed that you don't have to talk to your company anymore, because I could see that being really exposing and a little cross of, business and personal that, shouldn't be made up to your boss or your HR department who might not, understand.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think that's the reason why they changed it, is that it can be humiliating. If you have a hardship, you don't need to make it worse by having to have somebody confirm that it's a hardship, especially if there are difficult relationships between you and the employer or you and the HR person.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So the other way you can get it out of the plan are if you become permanently disabled, obviously if you die, or if you leave the company, then you have access to the money. But other than that, the only other provision is that if you turn 59 and a half and the plan has what's called an in-service withdrawal allowed, then you can withdraw the money once you've achieved that official retirement age of 59 and a half. You can withdraw the money from the plan without any penalty. You do have to pay taxes on it, but you have access to it.
Interesting. Yeah. So it seems like they do kind of put up some barriers, but it is important for you to be saving for retirement, investing those funds, and having that grow. It's really essential. And sometimes it's good to have someone kind of being like, no, we're holding on to that for later. But if push comes to shoves, there are opportunities to get your hands on that cash as well.
There are, and there are two new provisions that were approved in the Secure Act, and I'll just touch on them if I could. This year, there are what's called federal disaster withdrawals. So if you are living in an area that's been declared a federal disaster area, you're able to withdraw up to $22,000 for each of 3 years, without penalty and without taxes. I'm sorry, without penalty, but you do have to pay taxes on it. But $22,000 a year over 3 years, and you can pay it back. It's included as income over a 3-year period, so that it stretches out the time you're going to be paying taxes on it. You can pay it back within 3 years, and you can it can include all of the not only your contributions but the vested amount.
Okay.
So and payments can be the payments back, if you're going to pay it back, can be suspended for a year. So this is brand new. Many employers probably aren't even familiar with it yet. So there actually was quite a bit in the Secure Act that applied to 401k plans. So, but that's one of them. As of next year, you're going to be able to withdraw $1,000 from your account without a 10% early withdrawal penalty for what's considered an emergency expense. And again, it'll be up to you as to what's an emergency expense. You'll have to prove that it was an emergency expense, but you can take $1,000 out of your account per year, and you can repay it within 3 years if you want to. But nevertheless, there's $1,000 available. And all of this is coming from from the pandemic, when people were really needing the money and they couldn't get it out of their 401k plans. Even though they were still employed, they still, had financial hardships. And so this all came out of that. So those are the two, that's starting next year.
Okay.
And then in 2024, they're going to allow you to start up what's called an emergency savings account, which is a separate account from your 401k plan. But it allows you to contribute up to 3% of your salary, but no more than no more than $2,500 annually into this account. And it's invested in principal protection type of investments, like money market funds and things, or just kept in cash, whatever. And it's taxed money, so it's considered like a Roth. But it's going to be part of your 401k plan, but not part of your 401k plan. In that, it's going to be accessible to you. You can borrow from it, or you can just take a distribution from it. That's not going to come until 2024. And it's going to be interesting to see how these are set up. And it's a good thing that it's delayed to 2024, because there are a number of things that were in the bill that it's going to take a while for, I think, both government and employers to figure out how to do it. But those are two of the things.
It's really interesting. It's kind of like how you started with, they took that money out of your 401k because it's easy to save money that you don't even see. And since a lot of people, don't have enough savings for an emergency fund, it's kind of like they're still not forcing you, but, taking that money out before you even see it to kind of make you prepared.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I know that has to be implemented to, the companies and train the HR and all those different things as well.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Exactly. You really hit on it, Maggie, that generally people should have an emergency fund. It's accessible to them, and it depends upon whether they're single or married. If they're single, it's typically 6 months worth of expenses. If it's if you're married, it's 3 months worth of expenses. And by emergency fund, it means that it's it's liquid. It's liquid, that it's easily accessed without fees and without any complications. And that is not a 401k plan. The money is not easily accessed. So I think you hit on it right, that this is to try and help people to prepare in case another pandemic or other emergency arises. They have some money to access.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I feel like we've gone through a ton of great information today about 401ks and, getting them started and moving them over and different things like that. Is there anything else we didn't touch on that you want to make sure we share today?
Sure. Well, I wanted to go over a couple of other things with the Secure Act, if I could. Yeah. One big change this year is for people who like Roths. You may know that if there's an employer match with a 401k plan, previously it came to the employee tax deferred. The traditional you pay tax for it down the road, and not as a Roth, even if you only had a Roth account in your 401k plan. And they just changed that so that the employer match can go into the Roth account as well.
Oh, interesting.
Now, it's something that payroll and employers are going to have to figure out how to do it. It shouldn't be that hard, but it is something that's new this year. And if you ask your employer about, you can find out whether or not it's available. But that's a new thing, and it's a great move. And the reason why it hasn't been done up until now is because Roth involves calculating taxes, and they just wanted to avoid having to complicate the match. But it is now available. The second provision that I think is beneficial for people to know about is next year. Employers, I run into this problem a lot with young employees, is that they have significant student loans that they're trying to pay off. And that means that they can't contribute to the 401k plan because they're obligated to make these loan payments, and they have no other money to save. Well, starting next year, employers are going to be able to match whatever a student loan payment is into the 401k plan. So in other words, if you're contributing $1,000, let's say $500 a month to your student loans, you're paying it back $500 a month. Your employer can match up to $500 a month into your 401k plan, even though you're not contributing to the plan. So it's a really nice feature because of the fact that so many young people are burdened with these student loans and aren't able to set up anything for their retirement. So this is a great change.
I love that. You can get a little bit, you can pay off your debt, but also get some invested at the same time. Because we know part of it is the time, which, is the drawback about really paying down one debt is you're not investing and getting the time here. But if you're kind of managing both, it can be really productive. And I'm glad they made that change, because I know personally, and, many others who do have a lot of student loan debt, and it is hard to, go in both buckets.
Oh yeah. Yeah. As I said, I meet with a lot of young employees who are in this exact situation, and this is going to be a great boon to them. And again, it doesn't start until next year. And then in 2024, there's another thing having to do with student expenses or student financing, and that is that people who have 529s can roll them that are unused. Their children have already graduated and there's leftover money in the 529, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. They're going to be able to roll that money over into a Roth. Awesome. There are certain limitations to that, but it's kind of a good thing. And but I think, and that doesn't really apply to retirement plans, but it's just something to mention. But I think another really good thing but unfortunately it's not going to happen until 2024, is that domestic abuse victims can take withdrawals from their 401k plans without penalty. And they can pay them back within 3 years, or just take them as a withdrawal and pay the taxes on it. But it can't exceed more than $10,000 or 50% of the account balance. But it's a really, and the reason why I think there's a delay in implementing this is because confidentiality is so important when it comes to domestic abuse. And I think they have to figure out how they're going to handle that. But I think it's a great thing for them to have, because domestic abuse victims, they're so hamstrung in terms of what they can do, and especially financially, and their ability to access that money is just going to be tremendous. I wish it would happen sooner, but I can understand the delay as they try to work out how this is going to be done.
I love that that's happening, because so many people in domestic abuse, can't get out. And part of it is they also suffer from financial abuse. And so having these funds could be great access. But again, they have to figure out that procedure. And, we have to have this information and start knowing about it now and sharing with it. So in case anyone does end up in that situation, they know that they have these tools. Because I think sometimes they're great ideas, but if no one's telling us, again, they're not a benefit anymore. Because you just don't know. And so I think it's great to just start learning about, knowing that it's upcoming, just in case, we do hear about people in these situations, that there will be an option.
Yeah. It's really, that's a really good point. It's really important for people to know. And oftentimes with domestic abuse victims, that's the only money that really is theirs, that perhaps they have an IRA, but even then abusers can try to access that money. But the 401k plan, that's pretty sealed up for just the employee, and so it can be literally a lifesaver for them. So it's a great provision.
Definitely. And I'm glad you don't have to go through your employer and get approved on that one so far.
Yeah. Not that I can tell, but that's the tricky part, is trying to figure that out.
Definitely. Wow, Kelly, that's a ton of great information. Is there anything else about the Secure Act that we didn't touch on?
I think I've covered just about all of it.
Awesome.
It has a number of things that don't pertain to 401k plans, but there are a number of provisions that apply to employers. So it's going to make it easier for them to set up plans and some other things. But for employees, I think I've covered all the highlights.
Awesome. Yeah. I think, the 401k, there's a lot to it. As we can see, each investment, has a deep dive and there's a lot to it. So we have to talk to our financial professionals, really learn what's happening, what the best approach is for us. As anyone could see, Kelly's email has been going through the bottom through this call, kelly@guncheonfinancial.com. He's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you could reach out to him at pursestrings.co. Is there any other way that you like people to reach out to you, Kelly?
Any way they want.
Awesome.
My website is guncheonfinancial.com. So, and one thing I want to mention in general regarding the economy and the market and all is to remember that when you're putting money into a 401k plan, you're putting money in there for retirement. So it's a long, depending upon how close you are to retirement, of course, but it is a long range investment for you. So I wouldn't sweat too much what's going on in the market right now. There's a lot of volatility, and there will be for this year. But know that the market has had lots of volatile times, and this is just one of them, and it will get better. Presumably, I shouldn't say that. It sounds like I'm guaranteeing it, but I'm not. But just be patient. Understand that the market goes through ups and downs and periods like this, and that you're in it for the long run. Don't expect short-term gains to be the signal of whether or not your retirement plan is working for you. Just be patient and understand that take the long view.
It's a great piece of advice because it's very true right now. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
So yeah, thank you, Kelly, for coming on today. I appreciate you sharing your expertise, and please reach out to Kelly if you have any more questions. I know he'd love to just have a conversation with you.
I would. Thank you very much, Maggie. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.